Hey, what's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel, Football Therapy, with me, your host, Jan. I hope you're doing well. I really do hope that... Oh my god, there's green in my mug. Look at that! Oh, that's cool. Wow, okay, very exciting and fun. I hope you're doing well. I really do hope that. Yeah, welcome back to Chelsea News, huh? Again, here I am, talking to you, Chelsea News. The seemingly daily series here on the channel where I reflect on what's being said about Chelsea, giving you my opinion on it, but more importantly, asking for yours. There's a bit to talk about. We're going to talk about Chelsea targets that will be playing at the World Cup and who to look at. Is Chelsea going to make a big splash in the January transfer window? Many people are actually, guessing or speculating that Chelsea are going to make a big, maybe signings or a big signing in January, which is very, very interesting. We're going to talk about some targets playing at the World Cup, actually from a mate of mine, Dan Childs, on Football London. We'll also talk about N'Golo Kante potentially leaving Chelsea in January for £18 million. Bearing in mind, he'll only have 6 months left on his deal, and he's an injured boy. So, I thank you for joining me. Hopefully it's going to be a good video. Yes, I'd ask you also, I'd extend an invitation to you to like the video. I'm still trying to wait for us to climb back up to that 2,000 likes point. We used to be soaring like 3,000 plus, and now we can't get over the 2K, but we can with your help. We need you. This on the day of the death of Twitter, supposedly. Elon Musk is completely lost his shit, and loads of people at Twitter are like quitting. So it says it might go down. People are speculating Twitter might go down, which would be bummer for me in terms of aggregating news because I use it for this channel. But I'll survive without it. I mean, Twitter's pretty toxic, so it'd be quite funny if it goes down. If it does go down and you still want to follow my thoughts, feelings, and opinions, I will become more active on my Instagram, which is at Football. Yeah, okay, we could do it with the mug. Football Yannick. Wow, that's fun. Oh yeah, please do subscribe. Or you're welcome to subscribe if you want to. Should you choose to do so, you should hit that sweet, sweet bell. Not my best, but we move, ladies and gentlemen. Quickly, I want to start with Fabrizio Romano confirming that he's spoken to Hendrick's father, and they have not, I repeat, not have prepared a meeting with Real Madrid, which is exciting, gives me the tingles, because he's already had a meeting at Chelsea at Cobham that we've spoken about, been shown round by Brazilian legend Thiago Silva. So we'll put a pin in that. We know we've spoken to him about him a lot recently, so we won't anymore, but positive news there regarding not having a meeting with Real Madrid. Quickly going to reference Twitter before it burns to a crisp. Cy Phillips at Cy Phillips Sport. I'll be plugging probably a dead platform now. He's citing some information from Football Italia, which of course, information, publication, data from Italy. Hakim Ziyech, who by the way, you must have seen that game as, I guess it was a friendly for Morocco, warming up for the Qatari World Cup. He scored from his own half. Absolute screamer. The goalkeeper was off his line, and the thing is, this is Hakim Ziyech. He's always had that audacity. He believes in his hype, which is a good thing for many players. I've always said it. If you've watched me for a while, you'll know I've always maintained a great part of Hakim Ziyech is he just have that arrogance, that audacity, that confidence to do crazy stuff, and he's got the skill to back it. Perhaps not always been the greatest of success in the Premier League in terms of positional discipline and pressing, even though he did get better at that. Not the best, but go watch that goal. Anyway, Hakim Ziyech is extremely motivated to perform his best for Morocco at the World Cup. He should be anyway. Desperate to show his qualities in an attempt to convince AC Milan to sign him in January. Hashtag shop window job. Which would make sense for him. He just doesn't play for Chelsea. You might have your own opinion on that, saying he should or should not play. Potter's used him really sparingly off the bench. Oh yeah, I can totally understand it. He still knows he's a good player, and it'd be a great signing for Milan, surely. He can cook. Ziyech can cook. If you play the right way, if you probably don't play in the Premier League, he will cook. And Chelsea would probably want to make some money on him. He will absolutely want to move ASAP. Dude's, 29 years old. He's got, he can still sign a 4-year relatively lucrative deal, you'd imagine, or 3+1 or something. Great opportunity for Ziyech to do so. So you can understand that. Best of luck, Hakim. Let's move on. I do want to remind you to comment your thoughts as we go. Now, before we dip into Daniel Charles's article, go check it out on football.london. Let's just quickly talk about another football.london article written by Sam Hill. I'm referencing a part here about Juventus going in for Kante. Now, lots of clubs want Kante still because they want to take a punt on him on a free transfer, knowing he's this uniquely world-class diamond when he can play football. Now, he wants a lot of money. We've spoken about this. The only way I'd sign him on a new deal is if it was a heavily incentivized new structured deal where he has to play to get paid, essentially. But other clubs will probably certainly clubs like PSG would probably be more inclined to be like, we'll just throw loads of money at you, mate, come play for us. And I thought he was deep down, I just thought he was destined for PSG. Because obviously a lot of the PSG players are national team players. He is Parisian. He speaks obviously English, but he doesn't speak any other languages. He's in his 30s. I didn't think he'd just start learning Italian. I think he'd just want to go home to his native Paris, his native France, his native language, get paid a lot of money, which seemingly he wants. And I don't want to say he'd certainly play in a slower league in Liga. Liga is deceptively physical. It's not a soft league. There is a lot of physicality in there, but it's not slow and it's not as fast and high octane as the Premier League. Oh, of course. Let's read this excerpt here. Amidst uncertainty over Kante's future at Chelsea, Inter and Juventus are now weighing up a move for Blues midfielder, with the transfer window opening in January, of course, according to La Pubblica, which I guess is an Italian publication. The report suggests both Italian clubs will be willing to pay an £18 million fee in order to get Kante ahead of any other clubs who try and sign him as a free agent in the summer. Essentially, what's that, 20 million euros? You spend 20 million euros just to make sure you get N'Golo Kante. Chelsea would also certainly prefer to take a return on their investment as opposed to seeing the Frenchman leave on a free transfer at the end of the season, and as was the case with fan favourite Rudiger last season. But, of course, Rudiger ended up leaving. Okay, Kante, January. Well, the fact is he's on like 300k a week. That's 6 months of him perhaps not being able to play, being on the bench, like injury bench or whatever, or physio bench? You know what I mean? So 300k a week of him just not playing, you absolve yourself of that off the bat, instead of him just going for free at the end. And you get an extra £18 million. I mean, it will always hurt if Kante goes somewhere and just plays really well for like 3 or 4 years. You'd be like, what have we done? Do you know what I mean? But it's just football, man. You got to take a risk. You got to look at the situation at the moment, the data, etc., etc., etc. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about the Kante situation. There is actually something else here talking about Mason Mount. Of course, still likely to extend with Chelsea, but Liverpool monitoring the situation with Mason Mount. Now, he's a Chelsea boy. He loves Chelsea. Chelsea boy. Who knows? Hey, Liverpool might get some new owners. You might see them, think like, well, Anfield, but I don't know, actually probably not. The only reason I have a 2% chance in my head that he might is because he's not a Chelsea fan, he's a Pompey fan, but whereas Reece James is a Chelsea fan, but they're both Chelsea boys, if that makes sense. Look, hopping over to a new article now, we're going to reference Dan Childs, son of Chelsea, of course, on YouTube, his article talking about the Chelsea targets playing in the World Cup, and he references a few here. I don't actually think he does reference Christopher Nkunku, but I think maybe that's because there's a pre-agreement already signed. But he starts off. The first player in question is Declan Rice, England international, central/holding midfielder. Let's get the most obvious one out of the way. The West Ham midfielder has been known to be a target for the club for several years after being released by Chelsea's academy when he was 14. Now, if you've been released by Chelsea or sold by Chelsea as a youngster, there's a good chance you're a world-class talent. Jamal Musiala, etc., etc. He has developed into one of the Premier League's most dominant midfield enforcers, along with cementing a regular spot in Gareth Southgate's starting lineup. Rice is likely to feature alongside another potential target in Borussia Dortmund's Jude Bellingham at the heart of England's setup. His current contract expires in 2024, making this summer, of course, a good year for him potentially to be sold. What do you think about Declan Rice? Of course, Chelsea's midfield, I think, and so do many, has been lacking so much in recent years. A presence, safety on transition, also the impetus to go forward into the right spaces, and just everything. We don't have any physicality there. We've got very talented midfielders, but like we always say, they're just specialist midfielders at particular niche jobs, very systemic, but we need like a conventional defensive midfielder. I don't know if you can hear that, but my washing machine is on spin dry and it sounds like it might explode. Next up, this is an interesting one. So Memphis Depay, of course, he's a general forward for the Netherlands, Barcelona player. The 28-year-old was linked with Chelsea throughout a chaotic summer window as Barcelona's finance remained unpredictable. True, we spoke about this here on the channel a few times. Towards the latter stages of the window, Memphis Depay was being offered to Chelsea, linked as Barcelona tried to dig them out of a terrible financial hole. So the Blues eventually did sign one Barcelona player. Of course, that was Aubameyang. Depay is reportedly likely to leave the La Liga giants in January, as West London could be a possible destination for the attacker, especially with his contract expiring at the end of this season. Well, I didn't know that. So you think it'd be available for the bargain? Depay is a very different player from the one who struggled to settle at Man United, offering an end product and consistent quality on the ball. I think he means like perhaps not offering the end product. A thigh injury has disrupted this season, but he's still one to watch. True. If he's cheap, like, do you want to just buy cheap, relatively good players? For me, like, I don't think you buy Memphis Depay and Christopher Nkunku. I thought you just go for Nkunku because they're both kind of auxiliary forwards. Nkunku's obviously younger. He's more talk of the town. Of course, he'd cost way more money. Maybe you could just apply pressure to Barcelona with Memphis Depay because they're so screwed financially. And they'd probably want to absolve themselves of his wages as well. Next up is a really interesting one, of course. Denzel Dumfries, who's a wing-back, full-back, again, Netherlands. Sticking with the Netherlands, Denzel Dumfries was also touted as a possible right-sided option this summer. The Inter-right wing-back has impressed in Serie A and gained praise for his performances at Euro 2021. Actually, Euro 2020. They kept that name, didn't they? Which is quite funny. Finding sufficient backup for Reece James has overlooked part of Chelsea's recruitment in recent years, and is hard to ignore the issues given Graham Potter's face since James's knee injury in October. True, indeed. Dumfries would not be a cheap option, but it would be worth a watching guitar. It's another one of those, if they do really well, if they perform well, is that good for you or that bad for the buying club? It's good for the buying club because they feel like they're getting a form player. It's bad for the buying club because the cost of the player will go up significantly. And often these like players who perform well in international competitions, then they go in the following transfer window. Sometimes certain players raise their level in a particular team in an international tournament. A lot of people were using the example of Locatelli from Euro 2020. Playing really, really well there and being like, you know, one of the most high-profile targets, etc., etc. Next up on the list is Joško Gvardiol. So, Gvardiol, which of course is the centre-back who plays for Croatia, and his club is RB Leipzig. Although Chelsea spent heavily on defenders in the past window with the additions of Koulibaly and Fofana, that did not prevent links to further targets emerging. Yeah, Leipzig's Joško Gvardiol is a player that Chelsea have been interested in late. And in the previous window, before the 20-year-old penned a new 5-year deal with the Bundesliga club. This might just be insurance for Leipzig to get a bigger fee for the Croatian, but when he does so Man City have also been linked. He's now a regular in the international stage with his country and is likely to start alongside Lovren when they kick off in the World Cup. Can Mateo Kovacic convince Joško Gvardiol to come to Chelsea? He's been a Chelsea target for a little while. Like, it's, you know, before Possibly, yeah, before the new ownership as well. He'd cost a lot of money. Look, we're seemingly doing business with RB Leipzig of late. We've been trying to poach their staff. We sold them back Timo Werner for a pretty darn good deal. We've seemingly signed a pre-agreement deal for Christopher Nkunku, which of course isn't complete, but it's looking pretty positive. There's nothing to suggest Chelsea would not consider continuing using or doing business with RB Leipzig in Germany and in the future. So let's move on and let's talk about Rafael Leao. Chelsea has already got first-hand experience with the emerging prospect when the Blues faced AC Milan twice in the Champions League. Of course, he didn't really do anything, but Milan didn't really do anything. So he travels to Qatar and faces stiff competition with Cristiano Ronaldo, Andre Silva, and João Felix in Santos' squad. And also, Bernardo Silva, I know he can play in midfield, but they've got a ridiculous talent pool up front. I do think... Yeah, regardless, I just do think Rafael Leao will start. Leao is set to demand somewhere close to £100 million transfer fee to get him out of the San Siro. He's yet to sign a new extension. There were comments and stuff on headlines suggesting they've tried to re-sign him to a new deal prior to this World Cup, but it wasn't possible. But they will still try and get him to pen a new deal, likely to make... offer additional security when it comes to a transfer fee. He's very, very, very entertaining. He's a get out of your seat kind of player. He doesn't press at all. His pressing metrics are non-existent, almost certainly because he's not instructed to do so. So how will that work when you tell him to, when you'll need to in the Premier League? He looks great. He's like a striker because he's really big, but he plays like a tricky winger. So he's got that physicality and speed. He's quite explosive despite his size. Really could be really effective. He loves to dribble in and out between players. Unique in many ways. He would, of course, be a very exciting signing. Like I said, we'll watch him for Portugal in the World Cup and see how he gets on. He might be again, but if like all the rest of these players, if they play really well, if they're really exciting, then their price is going to be going ding 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 ding. And we've already spent a hella load of money under the new ownership, and that money is not. We don't have a bottomless pit of money, surely. Anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you for sitting with me and discussing it and listening and talking about these transfer targets. Let me know what you think. I'm always very keen to get the thoughts, feelings, opinions, musings of you lot. And I do enjoy reading the comments, so please get down there after making sure that you've liked the video. Yeah, man, look, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Take care, look after yourselves. Peace.